The needle slipped. Blood welled on Clara's fingertip. She bit her lip to keep from crying out. Her stepmother would not tolerate weakness. "Clumsy fool," Beatrice hissed from across the sewing room. "You ruin everything you touch." Clara pressed her thumb against the wound. The silk gown in her lap was meant for her stepsister Margaret. Tomorrow Margaret would dance at the county ball. Clara would stay home. She always stayed home. "I am sorry," Clara whispered. She kept her eyes down. It was safer that way. Beatrice stood. Her skirts rustled as she crossed the room. Clara tensed. The slap came hard across her cheek. Stars burst behind her eyes. "Sorry does not mend silk," Beatrice said. "You will work through the night to fix this. No supper for you." Clara nodded. Her cheek burned. But she had learned long ago not to cry. Tears only made things worse. Beatrice left the room. Her footsteps faded down the hall. Clara let out a shaky breath. She looked at the blood stain on the cream silk. So small, but it might as well have been a canyon. She was 23 years old. She had lived in this house for 15 years. Her father had brought Beatrice home as his new bride when Clara was 8. He died 2 years later. Left everything to Beatrice. Left Clara with nothing. Now she was a servant in what should have been her own home. She slept in the attic. She mended clothes and scrubbed floors. She ate scraps from the kitchen when the cook took pity on her. Margaret swept into the room. She was 19, pretty in the way society valued. Blonde curls and pink cheeks. She smiled when others watched, but her eyes were cold. "Mother says you bloodied my gown," Margaret said. She picked up the silk and examined it. "How typical. You destroy everything." "I will fix it," Clara said quietly. "Of course you will." Margaret dropped the gown back in Clara's lap. "You are good for nothing else." Clara waited until Margaret left. Then she stood and walked to the small mirror on the wall. Her reflection stared back. Brown hair pulled tight in a bun, grey dress that had been washed too many times, thin face with sharp cheekbones. She was plain. Everyone said so. But her eyes were not plain. They were deep brown, almost amber in the light. Her mother's eyes. She remembered her mother dimly. Soft hands and gentle voice. The smell of lavender. Clara touched the mirror. "I am more than this," she whispered. But even she did not believe it. The house settled into evening quiet. Clara worked by candlelight. Her fingers moved steadily. She had always been good with a needle. The blood stain came out with cold water and patience. She reinforced the seam, made it stronger than before. Hours passed. Her back ached. Her eyes burned. But she finished. The gown was perfect. Margaret would never know it had been damaged. Clara set down her needle. She stood and stretched. The house was dark now, everyone asleep. She walked to the window, looked out at the night sky. Stars glittered above, thousands of them, beautiful and distant. She pressed her palm against the cold glass. Somewhere out there, people were happy. Somewhere people were loved. She closed her eyes, made a wish like a child. "Please, let something change. Let there be more than this." The next morning brought news. Clara was scrubbing the front steps when the letter arrived. The butler took it to Beatrice. Clara heard her stepmother's sharp intake of breath. "Well?" Beatrice said. She stood in the doorway reading. "It seems the Earl of Thornfield needs a lady's maid. His previous one left rather suddenly." Margaret appeared beside her mother. "An earl? How exciting. Not for you, dear." Beatrice folded the letter. "He specifically requests someone plain." Someone who will not create complications. Clara's hands stilled on the brush. Something cold moved through her chest. Perfect, Margaret laughed. Send Clara. She is plain enough for 3 women. Beatrice looked at Clara. Her eyes calculated. Yes, this could work. The position pays well. Very well. And it gets her out of my house. Clara stood slowly. Water dripped from the brush. I am to be sent away? You are to take a position, Beatrice said. A very good position. You should be grateful. I do not wish to leave, Clara said. It was not quite true, but fear made her speak. Better the devil she knew than one she did not. Your wishes are irrelevant. Beatrice's voice was ice. You will leave in 3 days. I have already decided. The Earl of Thornfield. Clara had heard the name. Everyone had. He was young for an earl, 32. He had inherited the title 5 years ago when his father died. His wife had died 2 years after that. Childbirth. The baby had died too. People said he had shut himself away. Rarely left his estate, never attended society functions. Some called him the Ghost Earl, and now Clara would serve him. Would dress him daily, would be close to a man of such power and grief. She packed her few belongings in an old travelling case. A spare dress, her mother's locket, a book of poetry she had saved coins to buy. That was all she owned in the world. The night before she left, Clara walked through the house. One last time. She touched the banister where she had played as a child. Looked into her father's study. He had been kind once. Before Beatrice. Before everything changed. Goodbye, Papa, she whispered to the empty room. The carriage came at dawn. Beatrice did not see her off. Margaret watched from an upstairs window. Did not wave. Clara climbed inside alone. The driver loaded her case. Then they were moving, away from the only home she remembered. The journey took 6 hours. Clara watched the countryside roll past. Fields and forests. Small villages. The land grew wilder as they travelled north. Less tamed, more beautiful. Thornfield Manor appeared suddenly. A massive stone house set against dark hills. Tall windows, like watching eyes. Gardens that had once been grand but now grew wild. It looked lonely. The carriage stopped. A servant opened the door. Clara stepped down. Her legs were stiff from sitting. She looked up at the house. Felt very small. Miss Clara? The servant was an older woman. Her face was kind. I am Mrs. Winters, the housekeeper. Welcome to Thornfield. Thank you, Clara said softly. Mrs. Winters led her inside. The entrance hall was enormous. Marble floors, paintings of stern ancestors, a chandelier that caught the afternoon light. Everything was beautiful. Everything was cold. His lordship keeps to himself mostly, Mrs. Winters explained as they walked. He works in his study, rides his horse, does not entertain. Your duties will be simple. Lay out his clothes each morning. Help him dress. Tend his wardrobe. He is not difficult, just quiet. They climbed a wide staircase, down a long hallway. Mrs. Winters opened a door. This is your room. It is near his lordship's chambers. You will have your own space. That is important. The room was small but clean. A bed with a real quilt. A window overlooking the gardens. A washstand and mirror. It was more than Clara had expected. More than she had owned in years. Thank you, Clara said. Her throat was tight. This is lovely. Mrs. Winters smiled. His lordship may seem distant, but he is fair. You will be treated well here. I promise you that. Clara unpacked her few things, hung her spare dress in the wardrobe, set her mother's locket on the small table by the bed, placed her book on the windowsill. She looked at her reflection in the mirror. Same plain face, same tired eyes, but something felt different here. The air was clearer. The silence was not cruel. Evening came. A maid brought supper to her room. Real food. Warm bread and butter. Roasted chicken and vegetables. Tea with cream. Clara ate slowly. Savored every bite. No one had cooked for her in years. She lay in bed that night and stared at the ceiling. Tomorrow she would meet the Earl. Tomorrow her new life would truly begin. She did not know if she should be afraid or hopeful. Perhaps both. Sleep came slowly. She dreamed of stars and empty rooms, of hands reaching for something they could not touch. Morning arrived with pale light. Clara woke to a knock on her door. Mrs. Winters entered carrying a simple black dress. "For you, all staff wear these. It should fit well enough." Clara changed quickly. The dress was clean and well made, better than anything she had worn in years. She pinned her hair neatly, looked at herself in the mirror. She looked like a proper lady's maid now, anonymous, invisible. "His lordship rises at 7. Mrs. Winters said. "He will be in his chambers now. I will take you to him." Clara's heart began to pound. She followed the housekeeper down the hall. They stopped before a tall door. Mrs. Winters knocked twice. "Enter," a voice said from within. The voice was deep, quiet. It sent something strange through Clara's chest. Mrs. Winters opened the door. "My lord, your new lady's maid has arrived." Clara stepped into the room. It was large. Dark wood furniture, heavy curtains, a bed with dark blue bedding, and standing by the window was the Earl of Thornfield. He was tall, very tall, broad shoulders, dark hair that needed cutting. He wore only a shirt and trousers. The shirt was unbuttoned at the collar. Clara could see the hollow of his throat. He turned. Their eyes met. Clara forgot to breathe. He was beautiful. Not handsome in the way of society men. His face was too hard, too marked by pain. But his eyes were grey as storm clouds. His jaw was strong. His mouth was full and sad. He looked at her for a long moment. His expression did not change. "What is your name?" "Clara, my lord." Her voice was steady. She was proud of that. "You come from Mrs. Blackwood's household?" "Yes, my lord." He nodded once. "I require little. Lay out my clothes each morning. Help me dress when needed. Keep my wardrobe in order. Can you do this?" "Yes, my lord." "Good." He turned back to the window. "You may begin now. The blue waistcoat. The grey coat." Clara moved to the wardrobe. Her hands were steady as she selected the items he requested. She had dressed men before, had helped the butler when her father was ill. This should not be different. But it felt different. She brought the clothes to him. He stood very still, waiting. She helped him into the waistcoat first. Her fingers worked the buttons. She was careful not to touch him, kept a proper distance. But she was aware of him. The warmth of his body, the way he smelled like soap, and something darker, cedar maybe, or smoke. She helped him into the coat, had to reach up to settle it on his shoulders. For a moment her fingers brushed the back of his neck, just a whisper of contact. His skin was warm. He went very still. So did she. Then the moment passed. She stepped back. "Is there anything else, my lord?" "No." His voice was rough. "That will be all." Clara left the room. Her hands were shaking. She pressed them against her skirts, tried to understand what had just happened. why her heart was racing, why she could still feel the warmth of his skin against her fingertips. It meant nothing. She was a servant. He was an earl. There was nothing between them but duty and distance. But that night, lying in her bed, she thought of grey eyes and sad mouths, thought of the way he had gone still when she touched him, like he had forgotten what gentle touch felt like. The next morning she returned to his chambers. He was already awake, standing by the window again. Did he ever sleep? "Good morning, my lord," she said quietly. He turned, looked at her. For a moment something flickered in his eyes. Then it was gone. "Good morning." She laid out his clothes. A different waistcoat, a different coat, the same careful ritual. She helped him dress, was more careful not to touch him, kept her hands steady and professional. But again, when she settled his coat on his shoulders, her fingers brushed his neck, just for a heartbeat. And again he went still. This time she felt him take a sharp breath. "I apologize, my lord," she said quickly. "I did not mean to." "It is nothing." But his voice was tight. "You may go." Clara fled. Her cheeks were hot. What was wrong with her? She had touched him accidentally. That was all. It meant nothing. Days passed into weeks. The routine became familiar. Wake at dawn, go to his chambers, lay out his clothes, help him dress, leave. They spoke little. He asked for what he needed. She provided it. She learned his preferences, which waistcoats he favored, how he liked his cravat tied, the way he could not abide anything too tight around his throat. She learned other things too. He slept poorly. There were shadows under his eyes most mornings. He spent hours in his study, rarely left the house. The servants whispered that he was still in mourning, that he blamed himself for his wife's death. Clara wanted to tell him it was not his fault, that death came when it wished. But she was just a maid. Her opinions meant nothing. One morning she arrived to find him at his desk. He was holding a small portrait, a woman with fair hair and a gentle smile, his wife. He looked up, saw Clara watching. Something raw crossed his face. He set the portrait down quickly. "The brown waistcoat today," he said. His voice was rough. "Yes, my lord." She gathered his clothes, brought them to him. He stood. Let her help him undress. His movements were slow today, heavy with grief. She worked carefully, tried to give him dignity in his pain. When she buttoned his waistcoat, her hand brushed his chest, just above his heart. She felt it beating, fast and hard. Their eyes met. He was looking down at her. She was looking up at him. The air between them felt thick, strange. "You are very gentle," he said quietly. "Your hands are kind." Clara's breath caught. "I only wish to serve well, my lord." "You do." He lifted one hand. For a moment she thought he would touch her face, but he lowered it again. "Thank you, Clara." It was the first time he had used her name. It sounded different in his voice, softer, real. She finished helping him dress. Her hands were shaking. When she left his chambers, she leaned against the wall in the hallway, pressed her hand to her chest, felt her own heart racing. This was dangerous. She was beginning to feel things she should not feel, notice things she should not notice. The way his eyes softened when he looked at her, the way his voice changed when he spoke her name. She was falling, slowly but certainly, and there was nothing she could do to stop it. That evening Mrs. Winters found her in the servants' hall. "His lordship has requested you bring his supper to his study. He is working late." Clara's heart jumped. "Should I not send a footman? He asked for you specifically." Mrs. Winters smiled. Go on, dear. He does not bite. Clara carried the tray through the quiet house, found his study door slightly open. She knocked softly. Come. She entered. The room was warm with firelight. Books lined every wall. He sat at his desk, papers spread before him. He looked tired, beautiful and tired. Your supper, my lord. She set the tray on his desk. Thank you. He looked at her. Sit with me a moment. Clara's eyes widened. My lord, please. I would appreciate the company. She sat slowly in the chair across from him, folded her hands in her lap, did not know where to look. He picked up his fork, took a bite, set it down again. Tell me about yourself, Clara. Where did you grow up? In the house where you found me, my lord. It was my father's house once. He died when I was young. And your mother? She died when I was born. Something flickered in his eyes. Understanding, perhaps. Shared grief. So you have been alone a long time. Yes, my lord. He was quiet for a moment. Then he said, My name is William. When we are alone, you may call me that if you wish. Clara's throat was tight. That would not be proper, my lord. Perhaps not. He smiled. It was small and sad. But I would like it nonetheless. She looked at him. Really looked at him. Saw the loneliness in his eyes. The hunger for simple human connection. He was not asking for anything improper, just to be seen, as a man rather than a title. William, she said softly, testing the name. It felt strange and right on her tongue. His eyes closed briefly. Thank you. They sat in comfortable silence. The fire crackled. Outside the wind picked up. Rain began to patter against the windows. Do you read? He asked suddenly. Yes. When I can. What do you read? Poetry mostly. I have only one book, that I have read it many times. Which book? A collection of sonnets. It was my mother's. He stood, walked to his bookshelf, selected a volume, brought it to her. Take this. I think you will enjoy it. Clara took the book. Her fingers brushed his. Neither of them pulled away immediately. The touch lingered, warm and electric. Thank you, she whispered. You are welcome. His voice was low. His eyes were on their touching hands. I find I enjoy your presence, Clara. You are peaceful to be near. You honor me, my lord. William. Please. William. She said it again. Liked the way it felt. He stepped back. The spell broke. That will be all for tonight. Sleep well. Clara, left with the book, clutched to her chest. Her heart was singing. He had given her a gift, had asked her to use his name, had told her he enjoyed her presence. It was more than she had dared hope for, more than she deserved. That night she read by candlelight. The book was beautiful. Blake's poems. Words about innocence and experience, about seeing the world clearly. She thought of William, alone in his study, carrying his grief like a stone. She wanted to ease his burden, wanted to bring him light, but she was only a maid. What could she possibly offer an earl? The answer came to her slowly. She could offer what she had always offered: kindness, gentleness, a steady presence. Sometimes that was enough. The next morning she entered his chambers with new courage. He was at the window again. Always at the window watching the dawn. Good morning, William, she said quietly. He turned, smiled, a real smile that reached his eyes. Good morning, Clara. You used my name. You asked me to. I did. And I am glad you listened. She laid out his clothes. He came to her, stood close, let her help him undress. Her fingers worked his buttons. She was careful, professional, but also tender. She treated him like he mattered. When she slid the coat from his shoulders, her hand lingered on his arm. Just for a moment. He looked down at her. She looked up at him. "Clara," he said. Just her name. But it sounded like a question. Like a plea. "Yes? I have been alone a very long time. I know. You make it easier. Being here. Being alive." Her eyes burned with sudden tears. "You honor me with your words. I speak only truth." He lifted his hand, cupped her cheek. His palm was warm. His touch was gentle. "You are a gift I did not expect." Clara leaned into his touch without thinking. It had been so long since someone touched her with kindness. So long since she felt valued, wanted. Then reality crashed back. She stepped away. "I should go. This is not proper." "No." His hand fell. "It is not. Forgive me." "There is nothing to forgive." Her voice shook. "I will return tomorrow morning as always." She left quickly. Her heart was breaking, because she wanted his touch. Wanted his attention, wanted things that could never be. He was an earl. She was a servant. There was no future in this feeling. Only pain. But she could not make herself stop caring. Could not make herself stop wanting him. The days grew harder. Every morning she helped him dress. Every morning the air between them grew thicker with things unsaid. They were careful not to touch more than necessary, but the restraint was agony. She began to notice everything about him. The way he rubbed his temples when he was tired, the small scar above his left eyebrow, how he held his breath when her fingers brushed his skin. She thought about him constantly, wondered if he thought about her too, told herself it did not matter, could not matter. One evening she was walking in the garden. The sun was setting. Roses bloomed wild and beautiful. She stopped to smell one. Closed her eyes. "Beautiful, is it not?" His voice came from behind her. She turned. He stood a few feet away, his hands in his pockets, his hair catching the golden light. "Very beautiful," she said softly. "My wife planted these roses." He moved closer. She loved roses. Said they represented hope. That they bloomed even in difficult soil. "She sounds wise." She was. He looked at the flowers. "But I did not love her. Not truly. Our marriage was arranged. We were kind to each other. But there was no passion. No real connection." Clara's heart ached for him. "I am sorry." "Do not be. It was my fault. I kept myself closed off. Thought it was safer that way. Thought I could not be hurt if I did not feel deeply. And now," he looked at her, "now I realize I was wrong. Now I realize safety is a different kind of death." They stood in the fading light. The air smelled like roses and rain. Clara wanted to reach for him, wanted to comfort him, but she kept her hands at her sides. "You should go inside," he said finally. "It will be dark soon. Will you come too?" "Soon. I like it out here. It helps me think." Clara nodded, started to walk away. Then she turned back. "William?" "Yes?" "You are not alone anymore. I hope you know that." His expression softened. "Thank you, Clara. That means more than you know." She went inside, but she felt his eyes on her back, felt the weight of everything they were not saying. That night, she could not sleep. She stood at her window, looked out at the dark gardens, wondered if he was still out there, still thinking. A soft knock came at her door. Her heart jumped. She opened it. William stood there. His hair was damp from rain. His eyes were wild, desperate. "I cannot stop thinking about you," he said roughly. "I try, God knows I try, but you are in my every thought." Your gentle hands, your kind eyes, the way you say my name. Clara's breath came fast. My lord. William, please. William, she said it like a prayer. This cannot happen. You know it cannot. I know. He stepped closer, but I do not care anymore. Clara, you have woken something in me, something I thought was dead. I feel alive again, because of you. Tears spilled down her cheeks. I am only a maid. I have nothing to offer you. No title, no fortune. I am plain and poor. You are beautiful, he interrupted. You are kind and strong and real. You see me, not my title, not my money. Me. William, she was crying now. This will only hurt us both. Then let me hurt. He reached for her, cupped her face in both hands. Let me feel something besides numbness and grief. Please, Clara, please. She looked up at him, saw the longing in his eyes, the loneliness, the desperate need for connection. It mirrored everything in her own heart. I cannot deny you, she whispered. I cannot deny myself. I care for you so much. He closed his eyes. Relief washed over his face. Thank God. Then he kissed her, soft and desperate. His lips were warm. His hands were gentle in her hair. Clara melted into him. Let herself feel everything she had been holding back. Want and need and joy. The kiss deepened. His arms came around her, pulled her close. She fit against him perfectly, like they had been made for this moment. When they finally broke apart, both were breathing hard. He pressed his forehead to hers. I do not know what this means, he said quietly. I do not know how we make this work, but I cannot let you go. Not now. I do not want you to let me go. Then stay with me. Here, in this moment. Let us not think about tomorrow. Just tonight. She nodded. Let him lead her back into her room. They sat on her bed, held each other, talked quietly about their lives, their losses, their hopes. He told her about his father, how he had been cold and demanding, how William had never felt good enough. She told him about her stepmother, the cruelty and loneliness, how she had learned to make herself small. They shared their wounds, found comfort in not being alone with their pain. Hours passed. Neither wanted to leave. But as dawn approached, he kissed her forehead. I should go before the house wakes. Will you regret this? She asked. Fear crept into her voice. Never. He looked at her with such intensity it stole her breath. This is the first real thing I have felt in years. How could I regret it? He left. Clara lay back on her bed, touched her lips where he had kissed her, smiled into the darkness. Everything had changed. She did not know what would happen next, but for the first time in her life she felt truly happy. The next morning she went to his chambers. As always, he was waiting for her. When she entered, he crossed the room in 3 strides, pulled her into his arms, kissed her deeply. Good morning, he murmured against her lips. She laughed, actually laughed. Good morning. I missed you. These few hours felt like years. I missed you too. They held each other. Then, reluctantly, began their morning ritual. But it was different now. Every touch lingered. Every glance held meaning. When she buttoned his waistcoat, he caught her hands, kissed her fingers. I want to give you everything, he said. I want to give you the life you deserve. You already have. You see me. That is more than I ever hoped for. It is not enough. Clara, I want... A knock at the door interrupted him. They sprang apart. Mrs. Winters entered with fresh linens. Oh, forgive me, my lord. I did not realize you were still dressing. It is no matter, William said smoothly. Clara was just leaving. Clara fled. Her face was hot. Had Mrs. Winters seen them? Had she noticed how close they stood? The afternoon brought her answer. Mrs. Winters found her in the laundry. "A word, dear." Clara's stomach dropped. Of course. They went to the housekeeper's sitting room. Mrs. Winters closed the door, looked at Clara with kind but serious eyes. "I have been running this household for 20 years, she said. "I see things. I notice patterns. Mrs. Winters, let me finish." The older woman sat. His lordship has been a ghost since his wife died, cold and distant. But these past weeks he has changed. He smiles. He seems alive again, and I know it is because of you. Clara said nothing. Could say nothing. "I am not here to scold you," Mrs. Winters continued. "I am here to warn you. Society is cruel, Clara. If this continues, if anyone else notices, there will be consequences for both of you, but especially for you. I know," Clara's voice was small, "I know it is impossible, but I do not know how to stop feeling what I feel. I am not sure you should stop." Mrs. Winters smiled sadly. "I think you are good for him. I think you make him happy. I just want you to be careful. The world is not kind to women who love above their station. I will be careful. I promise." But careful was hard. Every day they found moments to be alone. Stolen kisses in the library, whispered conversations in the garden, hands touching beneath the dinner table when he asked her to serve him personally. They were falling deeper. Clara knew it, felt it in every beat of her heart. She loved him, completely and hopelessly. One night he took her riding. They galloped across his land in the moonlight. The wind whipped her hair. She had never felt so free. They stopped by a lake, dismounted, stood at the water's edge. "I love you," William said suddenly. "I love you with everything I am. I need you to know that." Clara turned to him. Tears streamed down her face. "I love you too. So much it frightens me." He pulled her close, held her tight. "We will find a way. I swear it. I do not care what society thinks. I do not care about scandal. I only care about you. William, you are an earl. You have responsibilities. You need an heir. You need someone proper. I need you. Only you. It is not that simple. Then we will make it simple." He pulled back, looked at her. "Marry me, Clara. Be my wife. My countess." She stared at him, could not believe what she was hearing. "You cannot mean that." "I have never meant anything more. Marry me. Let me spend my life making you happy. The scandal will destroy you, your reputation, your family name. Let it. I do not care. Clara, I was dead before you. Now I am alive, and I will not go back to that darkness. Not for anyone." She looked at him, saw the truth in his eyes. He meant every word. He would truly give up everything for her. Her heart swelled with love and fear. "Yes," she whispered. "Yes, I will marry you." He kissed her then, deep and claiming. They sank to the grass by the lake, held each other beneath the stars, made promises in whispers. Clara had never been happier or more terrified, because she knew the world would not let them be happy, not without a fight. The next week, William announced his intention to marry. He told Mrs. Winters first. The housekeeper smiled through her worry. "I am happy for you, my lord, truly, but prepare yourself, this will not be easy." He told his steward, his man of business. Word spread through the household. Some servants smiled, others whispered. Clara felt their eyes on her, judging, wondering. Then William wrote to his family, his mother, his sisters, told them he was marrying his lady's maid. The responses came swiftly, and they were brutal. His mother arrived 3 days later. Lady Thornfield was tall and cold. She swept into the house like a storm, demanded to see her son immediately. Clara was arranging flowers in the hall when she arrived. Lady Thornfield looked her up and down. Disgust crossed her face. "You must be the maid." Her voice dripped with contempt. "How ambitious of you." Clara said nothing, kept her eyes down. "You will not succeed," Lady Thornfield continued. "Whatever spell you have cast on my son, I will break it. You are nothing. Do you hear me? Nothing. That is enough, mother." William appeared on the stairs. His voice was hard. "You will not speak to her that way." "William." Lady Thornfield turned to him. "What are you thinking? A lady's maid. You would make this creature a countess. Her name is Clara, and yes, I will marry her. Over my dead body, if necessary." Mother and son stared at each other. Clara felt like she might be sick. This was her fault. She had caused this rift between them. "William, please," she said quietly, "perhaps your mother is right. Perhaps we should reconsider." "No." He came down the stairs, took her hand. "I will not reconsider. Clara, you are my choice. My only choice." Lady Thornfield's face went red. "You are throwing away everything. Your reputation, your social standing. For what? A bit of comfort. A warm body in your bed. For love, mother. I am choosing love. Something you would know nothing about." The words were cruel. Clara saw them strike home. Lady Thornfield went pale. "You ungrateful boy. After everything I sacrificed." "You sacrificed nothing," William interrupted. "You married for a title. You produced an heir. You did your duty. But you never loved father, and you never truly loved me. So do not lecture me about sacrifice." Lady Thornfield drew herself up. "If you do this, you are no son of mine. I will never accept this marriage, never acknowledge that creature as your wife." "Then so be it." His mother swept from the house. The door slammed behind her. William stood holding Clara's hand. His jaw was tight. His eyes were hard. "I am so sorry," Clara whispered. "I never wanted to come between you and your family." "You did not. My mother did that long ago." He turned to her. "Clara, do you still want this, knowing what it will cost?" She looked at him, saw the pain in his eyes, the fear that she would leave him. In that moment, she knew she would never leave him, no matter the cost. "I want you," she said firmly. "Only you. Always you." Relief flooded his face. He pulled her close, held her like she might disappear. Thank God. But the battle was just beginning. Word spread through society. The ghost earl was marrying a servant. It was a scandal of epic proportions. Letters arrived daily, some sympathetic, most cruel. William burned them without reading, but Clara saw the hurt in his eyes, saw what this was costing him. One afternoon she found him in his study, head in his hands, a letter crumpled on his desk. "What is it?" she asked softly. "My closest friend. We served in the war together. He says he cannot support this marriage. Says I have gone mad with grief." Clara picked up the letter, read the harsh words. Her heart ached. "William, perhaps they are right. Perhaps you should." "No." He stood, gripped her shoulders. "Do not say it. Do not even think it. I am not mad. I am not confused. I love you, Clara. You are the sanest thing in my life. But look what loving me has cost you. Your mother, your friends, your place in society. I do not care. You should care. You are an earl. You have responsibilities. My only responsibility is to be happy, to live a life that means something, and I cannot do that without you." Tears spilled down her cheeks. "I do not deserve you. You deserve everything." He kissed her forehead, her cheeks, her lips. "You deserve the world, and I will give it to you, starting with my name." They set a date, 2 weeks away. William arranged for a special license. They would marry in the small chapel on his estate. No grand ceremony, no guests except the household staff. It was not what an earl's wedding should be. But Clara did not care. She would marry him in rags, before a single witness, as long as she could call him husband. The days passed quickly. Clara prepared quietly. Mrs. Winters helped her make a simple white dress, nothing fancy. But Clara felt beautiful when she tried it on. "You look perfect," Mrs. Winters said. Tears shone in her eyes. "I wish you every happiness, dear girl. Thank you for everything, for being kind to me. You are easy to be kind to." The housekeeper hugged her. "You have a good heart. His lordship is lucky to have found you." The night before the wedding, Clara could not sleep. She stood at her window, looked out at the dark estate. Tomorrow she would become a countess. Tomorrow her entire life would change. A soft knock came at her door. She opened it. William stood there. Could not sleep either. "No. May I come in?" She nodded. Let him enter. He closed the door behind him. They stood facing each other. "Are you afraid?" he asked, terrified. "So am I." He smiled. "But I am also happier than I have ever been, because tomorrow you will be mine. Officially, forever. I am already yours, have been since the first time you said my name." He crossed to her, took her hands. "I know this has been hard, the scandal, the cruelty, but I promise you, Clara, I will spend every day making you glad you chose me. I will love you and protect you and cherish you. You will never doubt your worth again." "William." She squeezed his hands. "You have already given me everything. You see me, you value me, you love me. That is more than I ever dreamed of. It is only the beginning." He kissed her then, slow and deep, poured everything into that kiss. All his love, all his promise, all his devotion. When they finally parted, both were breathless. He rested his forehead against hers. "Tomorrow," he whispered. "Tomorrow," she agreed. He left reluctantly. Clara lay in bed, pressed her fingers to her lips, smiled into the darkness. Tomorrow she would marry the man she loved, and nothing else mattered. Morning came with pale sunshine. Mrs. Winters woke Clara early, helped her bathe and dress, arranged her hair simply. Clara looked at herself in the mirror. She looked happy, truly happy. "Ready?" Mrs. Winters asked. "Ready." They walked to the chapel. The household staff lined the path. Cook was crying. The footman smiled. Even the stable boy waved. They had all grown to care for her, had all accepted her place in William's life. The chapel was small and beautiful. Sun streamed through stained glass windows. William stood at the altar. He wore a dark suit. His eyes were bright with tears. Clara walked down the aisle. Her heart felt too big for her chest. When she reached him, he took her hands, squeezed them gently. "You are so beautiful," he whispered. The vicar began the ceremony. Clara barely heard the words. She was lost in William's eyes, lost in the moment. This was real. This was happening. "Do you, William James Edward Thornfield, take this woman to be your lawfully wedded wife?" I do, with all my heart. And do you, Clara Ann Miller, take this man to be your lawfully wedded husband? I do. Her voice was strong. Sure. Then, by the power vested in me, I now pronounce you husband and wife. You may kiss your bride. William cupped her face, kissed her softly, tenderly, like she was precious and fragile and everything good in the world. The small congregation cheered. Clara laughed through her tears. She was married. She was a wife. She was loved. William took her hand, led her from the chapel. Sunlight fell across them like a blessing. They stood together, looking out at the gardens, at the wild roses, at the beautiful, imperfect world they would navigate together. Lady Thornfield, William said, testing her new name. My lord, she replied, still teasing him. William, always William to you. William. She smiled up at him. My husband, my wife, my love, my Clara. They walked through the gardens hand in hand. Behind them, the household staff celebrated. Music and laughter filled the air. But Clara and William were in their own world, lost in each other. What happens now? Clara asked. Will society truly never accept us? Probably not. William shrugged. But I have realized something. I do not need society. I do not need their approval or their parties or their false smiles. I need only you, your love, your presence. That is enough. Are you sure? You are giving up so much. I am gaining everything. He stopped walking, turned to face her. Clara, before you I was empty, going through the motions of life without truly living. You have given me purpose, joy, love. That is worth more than any title or social standing. You have given me the same. She touched his face. I was nothing, believed I was nothing. But you saw me, you loved me. You made me believe I have worth. You have always had worth. I just helped you see it. They kissed again. The sun was warm on their faces. The roses smelled sweet. Somewhere a bird sang. It was a perfect moment. The beginning of their forever. Weeks passed. Life settled into new rhythms. Clara learned to manage the household as its mistress. The servants adjusted to calling her my lady. Some of the local gentry began to accept invitations to small dinners. Slowly, very slowly, they were finding their place. Not everyone approved. Some society matrons still cut William publicly. His mother never wrote or visited, but William did not seem to care. He was too busy being happy. Clara had never seen him so alive. He smiled constantly, laughed often, rode his horse with abandon, walked the gardens with her every evening. He was a different man, a whole man. And Clara bloomed too. She held her head high now, spoke her mind, made decisions. She had learned she was not weak, not worthless. She was strong, capable, loved. One evening, they lay in bed. William's arm was around her. Her head rested on his chest. She could hear his heartbeat, steady and strong. I have news, she said quietly. Oh, he stroked her hair. I am with child. His hand stilled. Then he sat up, looked down at her. Wonder filled his face. Truly, truly, I saw the doctor today. He confirmed it. William's eyes filled with tears. We are going to have a baby. Yes, he kissed her then. Deep and reverent, placed his hand on her still flat stomach. Our child. A piece of both of us. Are you happy? Happy does not begin to cover it. He laughed. Actually laughed. Clara, you have given me everything. A reason to live. a love worth having, and now a child. How did I get so lucky? I am the lucky one. No, we are both lucky. Lucky to have found each other. Lucky to have dared to love despite the obstacles. They held each other, made quiet plans, talked about names and nurseries and the future. They were building a life together, a real life full of love and purpose. The baby came in spring. A son, healthy and strong, with his father's grey eyes and his mother's gentle nature. They named him Thomas, after Clara's father. William held his son with such tenderness, Clara's heart ached. He was nothing like his own cold father. He was warm, present, loving. "He is perfect," William whispered. Just like his mother. Clara watched her husband with their son, felt overwhelming gratitude. She had gone from having nothing to having everything. A husband who adored her, a child who needed her, a home that was truly hers. One afternoon, William found her in the nursery. She was rocking Thomas to sleep, singing softly. "You look beautiful," William said from the doorway. She smiled at him. "Come join us." He sat beside her, touched their son's soft hair. "Do you remember the first day you came here?" "Of course. I was terrified." "So was I. Terrified you would see how broken I was, how empty." "I did see, but I also saw your strength, your capacity for love. You saved me, Clara." "No." She looked at him. "We saved each other." He nodded. "Yes, we did." They sat together in the warm nursery. The afternoon sun streamed through the windows. Their son slept peacefully between them. Outside, roses bloomed in wild profusion. The house was alive with laughter and love. Clara thought back to that first morning, when she had stood in William's chambers, helped him dress, let her fingers linger too long on his skin. She had not known then where that moment would lead, could not have imagined this life. But she was grateful, so grateful for every moment, every challenge, every triumph, because it had brought her here, to this man, this child, this love. "What are you thinking?" William asked. "That I would do it all again, every hardship, every painful moment, just to end up here with you." "I feel the same." He leaned over and kissed her. "I love you, Clara, my wife, my countess, my everything." "I love you too, always." Thomas stirred in his sleep, made a small sound. Clara looked down at him, saw the future in his sweet face. This child would grow up in a house full of love, would never doubt his worth, would know his parents chose each other against all odds. That was their legacy. Not titles or wealth or social standing, but love. Real, transformative, enduring love. William took Clara's hand, squeezed it gently. She squeezed back. No words were needed. They understood each other perfectly. Outside, evening was falling. The sky turned gold and pink. Birds sang their last songs of the day. The world turned on, as it always did. But for Clara and William, this moment was everything. They had started as master and servant, had crossed impossible boundaries, had defied society and family and expectation, and they had won. Not just their happy ending, but their happy beginning. The rest of their lives stretched before them, full of possibility and promise. They would face challenges still. The world would not suddenly become kind, but they would face everything together, hand in hand, heart to heart. That was the true magic. Not that they had fallen in love, but that they had chosen to keep loving, through scandal and struggle, through fear and uncertainty. They had chosen each other, every day, every moment. And that choice had made all the difference. Years later, when Thomas was grown, he would ask his parents how they met. Clara would smile at William. William would smile back, and they would tell their son a story about fingers that lingered too long, about a touch that changed everything, about two people who dared to love when the world said they should not. They would tell him that love is not about perfection. It is about choosing to see the best in someone, choosing to fight for them, choosing to stay even when it is hard. And Thomas would understand, because he grew up in a house built on that kind of love, the kind that transforms, the kind that endures, the kind that saves. Clara had been hired to dress an earl daily, but she had ended up doing so much more. She had dressed his wounds, dressed his loneliness, dressed his life in color and warmth and joy, and he had done the same for her. Together they had created something beautiful, something real, something that would last long after they were gone. Love was their legacy, and it was more than enough. As Clara lay in bed that night, William sleeping beside her, their son safe in the nursery, she whispered a prayer of thanks to whatever forces had brought her to Thornfield Manor, to whatever magic had made her fingers linger just a moment too long on a lonely earl's skin. That moment had changed everything, and she would be grateful for it for the rest of her days.